All right, it's 7 o'clock, so I will call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting for the Morton Grove Public Library. If we can stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Roll call. Calamack.
Here.
Gonzalez. Gray.
Here.
Mesa Jack.
Absent.
Eric.
Here.
Barb. Novak.
I'm here. I think.
Pelletier.
Here. I have to make my wisecracks or I wouldn't be here.
Oh, yeah, that's everybody, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of November 16th. Can I get a motion?
To approve the regular meeting board minutes from November 16th.
Any comments or changes or questions? I didn't notice my last name spelled wrong this time. Emily's not here. No? All right, can we get a roll call for that? Or can we just do aye? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now we have public comments from agenda items only, but we seem to be missing any public. So we'll move to the president's report. The communication with the village board. Oh, yeah. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at it? Does anybody have anything else they wanted to do before I sign it?
I did hear comments, I believe, from 4 of the trustees who all indicated
Okay.
that they thought it was fine the way that it was written,
Okay.
so.
I thought so too. It's a little slightly different than what I spirit is the same.
I thought it was a well-written letter.
Mostly her. Some of it's my wording.
I've seen such bad letters in my years as a manager that it's
Yes.
nice to see something in English that's written in English.
It was very, to the point.
No, I'd rather
Point
listen.
across, I mean, I don't know.
All right, well, I will go ahead and sign it and we'll cross our fingers that maybe something will come of it. Who knows? Now this feels like the thick paper and this feels like the not thick paper, is that okay?
Yeah, this is just the letterhead paper.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
Oh, so it's, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's, it might behoove us to have somebody at the board meeting if they're gonna bring it up.
So if we mail it out tomorrow, it probably won't
They probably aren't having a meeting.
boarding it until after the
Until
holidays,
after
I
the
would
holiday.
think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would we be able to touch base and see if they're
We
gonna
can
reach
touch-
out
I
loud?
can, once they get it, I can
Okay.
reach out. I'm not here next week, I am gonna be on vacation, but after
Okay.
that, I can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll do anything.
I think
with
it's
it.
just a matter of a call to, I don't know his name.
Yeah, well, it's,
The
so
executive, the
if we're
director.
sending it to the president, it's actually DeMaria is the president.
Yeah,
of
but
the
I wouldn't
board.
call him, I would call the person who runs the,
Ralph?
Ralph.
I can email and say, hey, I sent a letter.
Email Ralph and tell him that we sent the letter.
Did we cover copy here?
We did not, I didn't list it on this, but I certainly can.
No, I'm just asking, I don't remember seeing it, so we don't.
Not on here, but I can send it to him via email even and say, hey, we sent this to the village board, just so that you're aware.
It
And
just,
then,
it would be, I
If-
think it would be
if-
good to
if-
have a couple people there,
okay, I will
which
stop.
I'd be willing to be one of them.
I'm sorry?
It'd just be nice if we had a couple people there.
If they're gonna
and I'd be
discuss
one
it.
of them, if
Yeah.
I can
necessary.
try and go if it.
Was there a Monday nights? Monday
Yeah, I
nights?
mean, I,
Yeah, well,
They're
usually, whatever,
it's 2 Mondays.
yeah, I know it's.
just to show we're supporting
Yeah.
what we've sent.
I assume it's not the week of Christmas when I won't be
Oh,
here.
please, they wouldn't meet the week of Christmas.
I will mail this out and I'll double check the board meeting dates and then I'll also email Ralph with a copy of this and
Yeah.
say that we just sent this and just to let us know if he hears
Because that
anything,
way
yeah.
there's somebody who can force him to respond. Otherwise, he could just get the letter and throw it in the trash.
Well, yeah, to also see if it's gonna be on the agenda, because they have the same requirements for.
Right, they would have, I mean,
I
they're
think they
gonna
have
have to,
to, yeah.
any communications they get, they would have to at least, yeah.
I've been to a couple of the meetings and they read things.
Okay.
What they get.
But I'm still happy to try and go if I can make it work.
I don't know that, I mean, I don't even know if they'll pay attention to the fact that we're in the audience,
Yeah.
but it just seems to me to be the right thing to do.
Okay. I'll take care of that tomorrow. And verify the dates of the upcoming meetings. just so we have that.
So committee reports, finance, Carlotta,
I'll be right with you.
okay. We don't need to vote on anything, we're just
On
not-
that, no, oh, that's what I thought, okay. Well, if you look at the cash statement, you know, it's not dwindling down, but that's normal, but I think we have enough to get us by for the next 2 weeks.
Well, 2 weeks and then into the early part of
March,
2018.
Yeah, because we
Until
won't
tax
get
dollars
any
come
tax
in.
money until then. Any questions on the income statement? Looking at 16.
Does the board still want to get the previous year's income statement?
Can I be honest, I read this one, and
I mean, I know at one point-
I mean, there's been an occasion where the number is real weird that I might look up last year.
But you should actually have that still in your binder, you could keep it, or
You
worst case
something.
scenario, these are all on the website as well.
Right, oh.
So previous years, I'm just saying if it's easier for you, for us not to.
It's a waste of
I mean,
paper.
If it's a waste of paper,
Or that, or
I only look
bring,
at it because it's there, but I don't think I would miss it if it's not.
right, or you bring one copy of the 16 or the year, previous year.
I'm sorry?
You bring, like you bring to the meeting, or give to me, just one of us.
Just so that we have
If there
it,
is a question, then we've got that quick reference, but you know, everybody, I don't.
is the board okay with that?
Yes.
So from starting in January,
January.
just doing the current month and
Yeah.
plan,
That makes me feel less guilty.
I know, I know.
It is very easy to get confused if you're looking at.
Well, I used to,
I mean, I wouldn't even mind if these two before were back to back, if it was same paper.
Usually they are, sometimes it just depends on when we get certain things.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And, you know, as we're trying to copy things and our workflow and that kind of thing, so.
Any questions on the check register?
I had one, I think. Today's Business Solutions, 15th, is that a database?
No, that's,
Seems so expensive.
Yeah,
that
was
was
the one I-
previously approved by the board, it's all the new coin towers.
Oh,
All
okay,
of that, and I had brought the,
Okay.
it was budgeted for, but I
Okay.
wanted the board to approve it a couple months ago, so
Okay.
this is when it finally came through.
just it made me,
Yeah. Yeah.
the payee, I thought, oh, that's a
Yeah, so,
pricey database.
as I said, it was
It's a new one.
included in our budget for 2017, but I also did ask the board to, just so that you were aware again.
Okay.
That's what, it just came through on this month's
Okay,
check register.
I should remember from meeting to
When
meeting
you're not
some of those
perfect.
things.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Do we have to do with your?
Yeah, I will motion to approve, the treasurer's report for November 2017.
I'll second.
Do a roll call.
Gonzalez? Yes. Gray?
Yes.
Mazone?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Pelletier? And Calamack?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
For facilities, we haven't met, and I see that we have under new business possibly scheduling that meeting date, which I think I had sent some dates.
Yes, and I brought that.
So, and did policy meet this time?
We have not met since last.
Okay,
But we have a meeting I think in January scheduled.
okay. So we can move to the staff reports, director's report.
Some of you heard me talk a bit earlier about the ongoing building issues. It feels like
Oh, we tear down the building and
water-based
start all
things
over.
all the time, yeah. The, some something else I was gonna mention, and it just went right out of my head. Building, as I said, I won't be here next week. I will be available via email, phone, and text. Natalia will serve as kind of the acting director in my absence, should she need to, should anything come up. The next month, I will be asking the board to approve a sexual harassment policy, which they just recently passed a law that we have to adopt an official one. It has to have 4 particular pieces of information in it, so I'm working on that right now. The ILA has given us some kind of sample policies to work with, and I'm also asking Frank, I'll be asking Frank to review that before I bring it to the board. But we do have to pass it by January 15th. Our next board meeting is January 11th, so we'll be bringing that to the board at
Okay.
that date.
Does the policy with the bylaw that it's gonna cover, it have to all be?
This doesn't affect the bylaws at all. This is a
Doesn't.
staff, it's a
Okay.
policy for the staff,
Okay.
yeah, for sexual harassment specifically. We do have in our employee handbook a section on sexual and other types of
Yeah, I
harassment.
thought so.
And it's not as detailed as they want it to be,
Oh,
and
okay.
so that's what I'm looking at now, is kind of redoing that. And as I said, I will be having Frank look at it as well. Every public employer in Illinois has to have that, so that's happening. The bylaws committee is meeting in January to discuss the bylaws, and as Stephanie said, setting a date for the facilities committee meeting, which will be.
Are you on it? No. I'm
After
sorry,
the holidays,
never mind.
Dave and I are gonna get together and also discuss some facilities-related planning, kind of, looking at the facilities audit that was done, what's happened this year, what's happened recently, where we're really seeing the need, certainly within the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. So we're gonna try to, have some of that information before the facilities committee meets, so that we could share that with the facilities committee as well. And then one other thing that I do wanna point out, I have started discussions with CCS, which is a catalog consortium of libraries in this area, about potentially joining them and being part of a catalog consortium. So I'll be meeting, the pricing is very comparable to what we're paying our current catalog provider, and would give our patrons a benefit of being able to have much easier access to area libraries' holdings, and they can place holds directly at the catalog and that kind of thing. So very excited by that, and just wanted to let the board know that I'm starting those discussions. We'll be hearing more about that over the next, I'm meeting with the director of CCS and talking more about whether or not it will really work for us, but it does sound like it would, and we've started talking to department heads and stuff, so, like Niles, isn't it?
Okay.
Skokie is not, Skokie is a standalone, Skokie will remain a standalone until their building falls down, so, but that's, it's Skokie, that's okay.
Is it attitude, or is it just that they're so big they don't need to?
They don't, they're a different, they've always been, well, they're not completely standalone, they actually are part of a consortium of 4 other bigger libraries,
Okay,
that they've decided to.
so it's.
Yeah, and some of it is that they have the income that they don't see the benefit for their patrons to be part of the consortium. There's not a big plus for them. A library of our size, there really is a lot of benefit, particularly as we are at the point in terms of the physical space that we're pretty much one in, one out. So, we're constantly leaving the collection just because of the space limitations we have. So being part of the consortium, one of the great benefits is that it opens up a number of different libraries, their holdings to your patrons as well, and our holdings for their patrons. And so I think it would be a great benefit to our patrons, increase our search stats. It is a different catalog vendor as well, so that's kind of why we're waiting, but the timing I think will work out well for us. And like I said, I'll be bringing more to the board as I find out more information.
Would it change the catalog for both the patrons and the staff?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so right now we use Cersei Dynex as our vendor, And so there's two components to that. There's the public component called enterprise. And then the staff component is what we call workflows, Symphony workflows. Again, it's a Cersei Dynex product. CCS right now is Cersei Dynex. They use Cersei Dynex, but they're in the process of migrating from Cersei Dynex to a Polaris, which is a different vendor altogether. So when and if we make the switch, we would switch to Polaris as well.
Okay.
So from the back end, the staff is really committed to making that work. And I imagine from the public viewpoint, at some point, all the catalogs kind of, I'm not sure how much, I'm sure patrons will notice a difference, but I don't know that it would be a bad difference.
Yeah.
So at this point, but there really is no downsides for our patrons to do this, and that's really why we're here. So, and like I said, at least at the department head level, which is as far as I've talked about it, just to, because I just recently found out the financial information, we're all super excited by the possibility.
So sometime in 2018.
Right now, I'm looking at, CCS will not accept any new libraries joining the consortium until the summer of 2018, because they have to
Okay.
get through their migration process.
Okay.
But I anticipate joining early 2019.
Okay.
So to plan for that, make sure that we've got our catalog cleaned up and work with CCS and what they need for us to do in order to migrate.
Okay.
It's a pretty substantial process. But hopefully them being able to migrate beginning in 2019.
Okay.
So
Is
that's
that
my goal.
something to simplify, to decrease the burden it'll put on your staff to do it? Is it something a volunteer crew could do?
No. No, that I would, I'm not saying that there aren't volunteers that couldn't do
Yeah.
it, but something that, there's a lot of back-end database work that needs to be done on our end, so that would be staff, that would be paid
No,
by
it's
staff.
just because I've been doing a lot for a couple other places, and
Mhm.
I'm amazed at what they let me do. But then that's what I did in my work.
Right. Yeah, I would say for this, not to say that you probably couldn't do some things for, but I
Yeah,
think
I'm
that
just curious if
there has to be a certain level of expertise and competency with
I wasn't
the
trying to-
database that we
yeah, I
currently
wasn't trying to
have.
say that I'm a librarian, because I'm not.
So,
When you have the CCS, is it like a contract, like a 3-year contract, or is it?
yeah, we would join, I'm not exactly sure how,
I mean, it seems like a lot of work to do this, and then you could,
we would, so going forward, if we join CCS, we would stay part of CCS. There would be no reason to pull out of the shared catalog
Okay.
consortium.
Okay.
What could potentially happen is that over time, CCS as a group, and if we're a member, we have voting rights and different things like that with some of the decisions that are made. For example, CCS right now is migrating from Cersei Dynex to Polaris. So libraries could choose at any time to say, you know what, I don't want to join Polaris, I want to pull out, do my own thing. There's costs associated with being a standalone as well. We would probably always stay as part of the consortium. Whether or not that meant that they went to a different vendor, we would just move along with the rest of the libraries there. It's difficult for me to make a strong case for a library of our size to stay standalone, just because we're limited by space, we're limited by budget, and being in a consortium just really opens up a lot more resources and materials for our patrons.
I had two things, and the one I wanted to say was, I thought these holiday gift guides were very nice.
Yes, that's.
I don't remember that,
I think
years
this is,
past.
I think this is the first year we've
Okay.
done it.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
thought it was very nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I read about the, upgrading some of the stuff in the creator station in the digital media lab, and I was just wondering if there, in addition to upgrading some of the equipment, are there any plans to add new types of equipment, or we're pretty set with what's in there
Right now, we're focused on getting the equipment that we're upgrading up and running correctly and everything. There's a lot of little pieces and the moving parts with that. The stuff that is in there currently has been the things that people have asked for. A lot of the, transferring VHS tapes to DVDs, those kinds of things. So we haven't gotten a lot of requests for other types of equipment in that room yet. But,
Okay.
you know, I mean, adult services staff in particular are always looking for new and exciting things. Particularly, we've got some people that are really into some new technology sorts of things. For example, we're doing a little tech thing Saturday here, but we have a few of the librarians that are really getting into virtual reality and some different things like that. But
Okay.
nothing yet to be put in the DNO.
Okay.
So right now, we're just focused on making sure that everything we have is up and running correctly, so.
Is there a possibility of a news report, a report that would go in the newspaper about this changing consortium?
Yeah, when that happens,
When it
absolutely,
happens.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, that would be, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, and that's, you know, another reason to take our time and spend the next year planning that, and then we publicize that, both just the community at large and to our patrons and that kind of thing, so. Yeah.
Is it something that's gonna cost us a significant amount in the sense of, I'm looking at fundraising and possibly using that as a handle to send out something?
Typically, libraries have not used fundraising for those kinds of expenses.
Okay,
Right now, the annual cost, when we look at what it would cost to join CCS and what benefits we would get, it offsets our annual costs for the catalog. So for example, we pay right now $51,000 approximately to Susie Dynamics every year. For the catalog, for some other back-end things, that kind of thing. We pay OCLC $19,000 a year. So we can do a two-year loan, we get records from them, a variety of cataloging things. We also pay, so I'm just gonna go with those two things, but there's some other lesser expensive things that we would be getting joining CCS that right now we're paying for. So, but just with those two pieces, what we pay Cersei Dynex and what we pay OCLC is $70,000. To join, the annual fee to be in CCS is $70,000.
Oh, it sounds right.
So, because while their catalog portion was a little bit more, their OCLC fees for us would be $7,800 instead of $19,000. So, and then we would also get, there's a few other databases that we're currently paying, there's like 3 databases that we were paying about $2,000 each, that are included as part of CCS, as part of our membership. Now, there is a one-time migration fee of $75,000, which is also why we're putting it off to 2019, so that we can budget for that. But that's a one-time fee, but after that, as you say, this is a wash in terms of cost, and we may even be getting benefits if, or, you know, even save us a little bit of money if you're looking just at the financial aspect of it.
Thank you.
So that is,
I had a question totally unrelated. In the library's report on page 2, under card numbers, should it be September?
Oh, yeah.
oh, you know what?
Oh,
Yes, you're absolutely right. That was
I
for
also
November.
proofreader.
Thank you. I will update that in
In the file.
in the files and then online as well. That is the November number, which is not great, I know, but
It's more than 0.
that's true.
Mm-hmm. People's minds are elsewhere.
I read this over some years. Go ahead.
why they're not doing, I'm just curious, the New Year's Eve that they've done the last several years, the youth services on New Year's Eve, they've had a party in the, and we've gotten there, it always seemed well attended. I had looked it up to see if they were having it this year, and noticed that they're not, I don't know.
The only reason I can think is potentially staffing, because Stephanie
Okay.
is still out on leave.
Oh.
She's back a little bit part-time, but.
Okay, Courtney, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
That's looking at you.
That's what I figured, that's what I figured.
Yes, I'm sorry, Courtney is
Okay.
still out on leave, but I would guess that that's part of it,
Okay.
just with
Okay.
everything with,
Right,
so,
okay,
and just bringing some newer staff up to speed.
Yeah.
But I would pass on your comment that.
yeah, we've enjoyed it in years past.
Yeah.
I was surprised that it wasn't there.
Regarding your November 6th training you went to, is there anything new regarding Board of Trustees that you learned or interesting?
No, that was fairly straightforward. You know, as I commented, I mean, a lot of this is much of this is stuff that I know and that kind of thing, so, but it's always good to hear it again and to network with colleagues in that particular, for that particular topic. There wasn't anything covered that I hadn't heard of other places.
Speaking of which, I can barely wait, but I put this on my calendar, if anybody else, I will go if anybody else wants to go.
So that's the
What do you-
library trustee,
On the 17th,
should be in your packets.
I'll go, that's my cousin.
It's,
oh, really?
is it really? It's all day,
Yeah,
but if you guys want to let me know either tonight or email me so I can get you registered.
What would be a reasonable number on the 4 to 7?
yeah, I mean, I've been,
Whoever wants to go, I mean.
I'm happy to go, I'm happy to not go, however,
I do know that their trainings are very good,
okay.
so, but who's ever interested in going, just let me know so that I can get you registered.
I'll go.
I'll go.
All two.
I'll go and I'll go.
This is
So Saturday.
Saturday, so
Is that okay?
yeah, that's fine.
So Carlotta and Stephanie, at least right now?
And I'd like to go.
Okay, and
We
then,
should get one car to go.
yeah, and then just email me, and then I can,
That was the initial training.
It sounds actually more interesting than the one I went to a couple of years ago.
That was my presentation. Yeah.
so that was all I had for present.
Okay. And I saw the letter about the building.
Oh,
Just-
yeah, so the only thing with that is that, as Brian had indicated in his email that isn't, you have a copy in your packets, he does suggest lowering the price. He had suggested lowering it after the first of the year. I don't know if the board wants to officially vote on that now, or if you want to wait till the January board meeting and then vote on it.
How close are we getting to the price that we paid?
He wants, the board paid, excuse me, I'm sorry, $250,000. Ryan Rip, the broker, is recommending dropping the price to $399.
250, 399.
Yeah, so,
Oh, above.
Well, why don't we wait till after we hear what the
that's fine.
village, the village
That's
has
totally
to-
fine.
Yeah, the winter anyway,
You know.
it's gonna slow down in terms of.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So if you wanna table that decision until the January meeting, that's fine. So I can just let him know that we talked about it, that you're waiting till January to make that decision, and then we'll let him know.
Sorry, I realize now that was under.
No, it's
Unfinished
totally
business,
fine, we
it was
can,
all
we
in
can
our-
just,
So corporate counsel's not here, nothing with that, so unfinished business, the bylaw review, revisions, update, we put something.
yeah, basically, I just
on the
wanted to
calendar.
I don't know if the full board was aware of when the meeting was, so the ad hoc committee, to look at the
31st.
bylaws, is January 31st. I do have the large study room reserved for, members of the ad hoc committee. For that, so.
I had mentioned, I think it'll be, the stuff that we read, the chapters.
That's what you said there was
And I
something you
worked
thought
up
we were,
a chart.
thank you.
That's what
I
like
mean
to
that
do.
seriously, I know, I'm glad that you do.
Somebody has to. You can't imagine
Play
how
to
many
our
organizations I've worked on bylaws. You would think I could do it by heart by now. Anyways, I did work up a chart mentioning questions,
Okay.
issues, et cetera.
I think this will probably be the main thing that we have to address, because, I mean, you, me, and Carlotta went through it pretty
Yeah,
well last time, so I think we can
well,
probably.
yeah,
And
there's
it's-
look at
it's
that.
part of
one
it.
that stuck out, and
Yeah.
one that stuck out, and I don't remember if I even got it on the chart, but
Okay,
just briefly, it says we review the bylaws every 2 years, and they're recommending every year.
oh, okay.
Well, you can review them, you don't have to make any changes.
Yeah,
You basically say, we've looked at
Yes,
them, we
yeah, a
don't
lot
wanna
of
make
them I
any
put
changes.
question marks and stuff, but I think it's readable, I've got it if anybody wants it ahead of time, or you wanna,
If you have it, electronic, is it something that
I
you
can
could?
do it electronic, I've already printed it out.
Okay,
I print it out because that way there's room to scribble and write, and
okay, if you have extra copies,
I
sure,
made copies.
for Joanne and myself.
And me?
You, me, and Joe, well, yeah, I assumed you have one for,
Yeah,
as the creator.
I can give one to you. Yeah, if you want one, there's one there.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, the 31st at 9:30 is what
In the
I
large
have.
study room is what I have reserved so far, so I just wanted to remind everyone of that.
So we talked about 6,200, and now we have the per capita grant requirements.
So I just, in your packets, I know you guys have seen this, but I just wanted to, once again, because I completed the per capita grant, and so, the chapter 12 safety, there's a checklist. I just wanted to let the board know that I, of course, have gone through the checklist. We meet almost all the standards and/or are revising some of our, safety procedures, that kind of thing. So just to give you an idea that this is what we look at, I look at the checklist to make sure that we're, meeting as many of the standards as we can, and we're good with that. And then you want me just to move into that?
Sure.
So then what you'll also find is a copy of the completed per capita grant that addresses all of the questions that they ask us every year.
I did notice that the economic interest statement is checked not yet. Is that something we need a link for so that we can
That
do
happens
again?
in the, usually early
In the
in
new
each year.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually get notification from
Okay.
Cook County to do it, so. For the newer trustees, they haven't done it yet. For the trustees that have been on the board before, but like Joanne and Emily and Eric have not yet gone through that. There's a thing you have to fill out that basically says if you have any economic interest in running an organization. So it's an annual thing. So that's why I did that, because the new trustees hadn't yet done that.
Okay.
So, so this is the completed per capita grant with my responses to the questions, and then the per capita grant expenditures report is actually for funds for 2016. First page doesn't have anything because our funds were spent primarily on construction and equipment. At the very top, I'm like, wait, there was something else. Equipment, we replaced some older computers, and then construction. So, yeah, so basically the state just wants to know that you're spending the money and what you're spending it on, and there's certain things that we can and can't spend it on, but that's what that is. So, unless there is any questions or concerns about what I have done, I will be sending this to the state tomorrow. Okay. So the completed.
We don't need to vote on
Do we have to vote on that?
You can, I mean, if you want to make it official.
Sure, we
right?
can vote on it.
So,
Roll call,
yeah.
because since it's money.
It's-
So I will motion to
I love the
approve
simplification.
the 2018 per capita grant application and the 2016 per capita expenditure report.
I'll second it. Now we do a roll call?
Yeah.
Because it's money.
Of course.
It's not money till the state sends us money.
Yeah, that's right. Gray,
Yes.
Mazone,
Yes.
Novik,
Yes.
Pelletier, Calamag,
Yes.
and Gonzalez.
Okay, new business, staff and service closing for March 2nd of 2018.
Yes, as the board knows, we had to cancel our half-day in-service that we had scheduled for October due to a medical emergency of one of the presenters. So she is now able to do that presentation again. This is the social worker is gonna come, but we also have made arrangements with someone from, it's called Mental Health First Aid. It's an organization that gives day-long training on dealing with mental health issues. And Jeff
They were
included,
Noma.
pardon?
I thought they were Noma.
Last year, we had someone come out from NAMI, and that was not,
Nami.
it wasn't quite what we thought it was gonna be,
Oh,
which
okay.
was, the staff is always looking for pointers on dealing with people that might be in distress. And the NAMI presentation didn't focus on that quite as much as we had thought, so staff is still asking for, that kind of training. So someone from Mental Health First Aid is gonna come out and do a presentation for us, and then we're also going to have someone from the state library come and talk about providing services to special needs population, particularly autism. So we're asking
it'll be
to
a
close
full day now instead of
we're
a
asking
day.
to close the whole day,
Okay.
which we figure would be a nice,
What day
all
of the
those
week is
things, that's a
that?
Friday.
Okay.
And all those things kind of, play off one another.
Yeah.
And so we think that will be a really good staff training day. So we're asking the board for approval to close that day.
I will motion to have a staff in service closing on March 2nd, 2018.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Lisa Jack? Oh, she's not here. Mazone?
Yes.
Novick?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Kalamag?
Yes.
Gonzalez, yes. And Gray.
Yes. All right, so I had suggested, and hopefully you have them, because I don't remember what they were, some facility meeting dates that I thought, based on what you said your schedule was, would hopefully work for all three of us. And is it a Monday, or is that what I remember?
The 3 dates that Stephanie's suggesting are as possible dates would be January 8th, 22nd, or the 29th,
All in the morning.
all in the morning.
Is it
Those
like
are
Monday
Monday
mornings?
mornings.
Sure. 6 o'clock in the morning.
January
9 o'clock is fine.
No.
I mean, I could come at 6, but I don't
Yeah,
think the building will be able
So
to.
January 8th, 22nd, or 29th.
Provide coffee, that's all right.
So that would be for our facilities committee meeting. And
For me, the 29th would be the best.
Okay.
So Barb and Dr. Kalamag and you are facilities, and anyone else obviously.
Any of those days are okay with me.
So you said the 29th, does that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so Barbara and I will just be here twice that week, which is fine, the 29th and the 31st.
So I will,
Will you send an email?
Yes.
Thank you. I can look stuff up on this calendar, but it's hard to put it in.
yeah, so in the morning at 9 AM? does
9 or
that-
9:30, whatever
Just,
anybody prefers.
because I'll also have to do an agenda,
Okay.
so I know what time.
9:30,
9:30.
9:30.
if you don't mind.
Is that okay with you, Dr. Calamay?
Yes, ma'am. I'm okay.
And then, I would assume you want me there, you don't want me there, you do, and
So we decided
possibly
on
Dave
Sunday
as
night?
well, possibly.
The 29th, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll send out a reminder email,
Do we need an agenda?
yes, I'll take care of that,
That's good, because I have no idea.
yeah. So, basically it will be the usual stuff, and then discuss facilities planning or that kind of thing, so.
If you and Dave have had any
Yeah, 'cause we'll have,
worthwhile
yes, if we haven't,
breakthroughs, miracles,
if the building hasn't flooded from something.
windfalls.
Exactly. I will send out a reminder email, but January 29th, 9:30 AM, potentially in the large study room or down in this room, depending on programming. So, and I'll let everyone know that. And I can do that at the next board meeting. So we'll be
Okay,
asking
yeah.
for that. Okay. Yep, I have some other.
Communications.
I think I included in your packets one little
It's
thank you
it's
note.
adorable.
Yes, so we got that the other day. That's the only communications that I received.
Some good link here.
I love the backwards hand on Nicole.
So the Glen Ellen Library Foundation.
Yes, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's very,
They're a little swankier than Morton Grove.
yeah, and lots of money in that community and stuff like that, but I thought that was interesting.
It would be nice to maybe do something tied to the 80th.
Yes.
That wouldn't be,
Yeah, the department heads and I started
quite
talking
this,
about that, and I've read a couple of other smaller libraries, more similar to us in size, that have done kind of, a penny for every year, some different things that, aren't
I
really,
gotta tell you, this is really possible. When I volunteered at the Mitchell Museum, which is a very small museum in Evanston, with approximately 3 employees or less, 2 or 3 volunteers, they used to pull something off
Yeah, it's,
very
a lot of times
similar.
it's not so much
What's
how many
its-
staff,
yeah.
it's that what's the community makeup? Do you have the people that are
That's
gonna
where
be?
we lose out as a
Yeah,
community.
is that we don't, I mean, it's a different kind of socioeconomic group.
Yeah, we have to look at something
Yeah.
where they get something for,
So I think that, kind of the smaller donations would be potentially more, and I think, as I said, it might have even been on my preparation for my review and stuff, is looking at a minimum, an annual giving letter, that kind of thing, I
The
don't think
foundation,
is
that's
successful.
one that's been inactive.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've had, not when I was here, under Deborah, they had a couple of,
we had a
events,
beer
the
tasting.
one beer tasting that was
Beer,
really
what
successful.
do they call it, beer flight or?
Yeah,
I can't get into these minor terms, you know, at my age, you gotta explain to me.
Yeah, the Friends and Foundation, just in general, is something that we've struggled with over the years.
Yeah.
It's been hard to
I mean,
to
I'd
find.
really like to get something, even if we start planning, right after the holidays are over, I'd like to really get it.
it's just a matter of getting enough volunteers, I think. 'cause
Well,
I
at
mean,
first, it could be two people just coming up with some ideas, and then you have an incentive,
Right,
you know.
and I do know that,
Comments.
at least for the beer thing, there was a lot of staff time that went into
Yeah,
that, and so.
Yeah, there was much too much staff time.
So that's always, I mean, we need
Yeah,
staff to do their regular jobs,
I
or,
was vehemently opposed to
Yeah,
that.
so, and that's- and that particular staff person is out on leave right now
But
anyway,
I know
so.
she's,
So,
yeah, I said, we cannot go without volunteers.
right,
It's just, it can't continue.
it's,
I'm very stubborn about that.
yeah, that's where, yeah, and some communities support it really well and others don't, I mean,
Right.
it just sometimes so, like I said, annual giving letters, doing something smaller, those kinds of things might be, at least initially.
Yeah, there was something a couple of years ago in the parking lot in the summertime where there were different
Oh,
like,
There were different activities,
Yeah.
and then there was a furniture sale for everything.
yeah,
we
that I
did.
remember. I
That was the
Are
only
you
thing that
thinking of
made
the How
money.
To Fest?
Yeah,
That was the only thing that made money, was the furniture sale.
yeah.
And that's
The
just-
No, I know the How To Fest didn't involve money, but I was just thinking if you did something, like you could even do
Well,
something.
that was really
in
aimed
the
at
parking lot and
the younger
In
kids.
the nice weather. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
discussion for another.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to hear all of those possibilities, just trying to think of how we could do that, but yeah.
So, public comments, non-agenda items, still no public here. So we are going to go in, to executive session for the director review. If anybody would like to make a motion and read the blurb, or I can do
I'll
it.
make a motion to go into executive session for the director review under 5 ILCS 120/2C1 for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public or legal conflict.
I will second that.
I think we have to,
Turn off the,
Yeah, but you have to
We
go
have to do a
out,
roll
you have to
call,
roll
right?
call, and then I'll turn off the, yeah. And you want me to
Go,
leave?
we have to roll
Yeah.
call to,
You have to roll call to go out of open session.
Will you be down here or
Yeah, I'll just do it
upstairs?
up here.
Okay.
okay, Melvin,
Yeah, no, I just,
yes.
so I know, so we know where to look for you.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Calamad,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Did you make a
Gray,
copy of the review yet?
and Monzon.
yeah.